Hello, welcome to the 6 months to 6 figure series of the DYF Freelancing podcast. I'm your host, Zach Swinehart. I'm here with Brad, and in this series, I basically coach him every week or two from early stages freelancing to a 6-figure annual income, which comes out to $8,333 a month. My challenge is to see how quickly I can get him there, ideally within 6 months. So we connect every couple of weeks, as I say, and it kind of mirrors the coaching we do in the Accelerator community. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, it'd be so cool to get coaching like that, you can totally do it. And to learn more, you can go to dyf.link/DYFA. So let's dive in. Brad, you tell me on the pre-interview that this is your highest revenue month for freelancing so far. So, woo, things are looking up, hence the screenshot. So tell me about it.
Well, I've been tracking Upwork, and the Upwork, it's not my highest earning on Upwork. August came just shy of what I did in May, but it's trending up again. July was a big stinker for everything.
But not for your life. It wasn't a stinker from a girlfriend moving perspective.
No, that's true. Yeah. It was really good for a lot of things in my life, but not so good for revenue. But yeah, we're back on an upward trend. And, you know, the big thing that at first I was like, man, I couldn't get it higher than May. But then I remembered the first Trojan horse client paid me $500. So that actually tips it. So this is the highest month.
So what did it come out to?
$24.55. So we're at about what? A third, somewhere between a fourth and a third of our goal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very encouraged. Like these things, the amount of time it took you to get here is not the amount of time it'll take you to get to double this. It'll take much less.
Interesting.
So this is all cool to me. You said, let me write it down though. You said 2,400?
24.55. Yep.
Cool. And how did let me get your homework up for last week. Like how are things going in general? I can remind you of the homework, or I can ask you what you have done as the homework.
Yeah, I did. In general, I still have this thing of like, man, I'm doing a lot of stuff and very little is trickling out the other side in output, you know, like I'm doing a lot of activity and very little outputs coming out. But I think there's another culling process that needs to happen like this week of my time. And also this is my first month of, I think, fully tracked time.
Ooh, that's a win.
On Toggle.
It's a very good win.
I've been reviewing that for the last hour, and it's really interesting.
Can I see what you've been reviewing?
Yeah.
Depending on what you want to go into today.
Yeah, we can go into that. So that's one thing I want to talk about is the time audit, like things I've learned. It's the first full month of time auditing. I have some observations about my podcasting project. I'd like to talk about that. My client work, I'd like to talk about that. And the values exercise that you had me do, we can talk about that. And then also, I think I found the niche that I want to grow into finally. So we can talk about that. And lastly, I had energy, which is like the things I'm realizing give me energy versus take energy. So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
so, yeah.
So last week you had it down, at least on my end. So you solidified the hierarchical priorities, it sounds like, yeah?
Solidified.
You theorized V1 of the hierarchical.
I started it. Yeah,
okay.
I started it.
And then it was It was a challenge?
It was a challenge, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's cool. It's a work in progress kind of thing. I'm working on the new version of the blueprint right now, and people always get stuck there in like the niching area. And I'm going to try to be putting stuff in place with like ChatGPT and checklists and stuff to just make it so you don't like overly focus on it. So I think with the hierarchical priorities, like you're never going to smash it on the first try. I think it's just you lay out a theory, you move forward following that theory or that SOP, and then if it gets you into trouble, then you tweak it. Like the most linear example I can give is when I would do my Wednesday meeting days, I would feel really exhausted at the end and want to drink just like a lot of alcohol, which didn't seem that healthy. And so I'm like, okay, clearly shoving like 6 hours of meetings into one day is maybe not so good. So I made my little SOP of like how many hours I do in a day. And at first I was like 5. And then I went and tried it and I did 5 and I still wanted to drink cider. And I was like, all right, let's try 4. And I feel like 4, my desire to drink cider is just the regular addictive ADHD desire, not the exhausted desire. So I feel like that's where it is. So it's just, it's iterative is what I'm getting at. And the other 2 things I had down for you were doing one, Santa Claus, and then maxing out. You said you wanted to do Upwork as your thing. And so you had it down that you wanted to max out your Upwork outreach each day and at least get back to what you're doing before, and then do a Santa Claus. How did it go on that lead gen front?
I didn't do either of those at all, really. And well, I did respond. I've been getting a lot of invitations on Upwork, and I spent a good chunk of time responding to the invitations that I already had in my inbox. And one of them in particular was a client that I really wanted and I thought I'd be really good fit for. And I put a lot of effort into like researching them, and I had a long meeting with them. And then they asked me to give them like kind of a roadmap thing, which was like more free work kind of, but I built the roadmap template. So now I have that going forward, but that took a lot of work. So in all, I think it took 3 or 4 hours for me to deal with this potential client in Upwork, but it would have been a really good fit. But, at the end they were like, we'll be in touch. And I was like, I hate we'll be in touch.
Yeah, it's not a good one. But I mean, in terms of hierarchical prioritization, I think we would all agree that prioritizing your warmer leads over your colder leads is smart.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count that as a failure or anything. I think that's great. It's nice that you had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And my Trojan horse client, I also did another sales call with him, because while we were fulfilling the last thing that I sold him, he mentioned wanting help with his course and stuff. So I was like,
dope.
Well, let's talk about it. And so we talked about it, and I think he's going to hire me on Upwork, like on an hourly rate kind of to help him with his next round of projects. So I did secure kind of another client, but like Ascension.
Dope.
And so I spent a lot of time this week actually on like lead nurturing, I guess.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like the dream, people wish they could nurture existing leads. They just don't have them. So I think that's great.
Okay. So maybe I actually did kind of check those boxes. It just didn't look like what it's looked like for the past few weeks, which was just like cold, brutal, just blasting out outreach.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'd be interested to hear what you think the hierarchy of importance is. Like, I think the main thing in this lead gen category is that from reading sales books and stuff, most accomplished salespeople say that you always want to be pipelining people. You always want to get people into different stages of the pipeline. So if you do a gigantic burst where you get a bunch of cold leads at the top of your little funnel pipeline thingy, and now they're all warm, but you're not getting new colds in, it will create a bit more of a roller coaster. But at this stage, who cares? Like at this stage, I just want to get you some really good case studies. And you have these clients who could be really nice, like keystone referral clients, keystone case study clients. My highest priority for you would be kicking ass with these guys. We can talk about like lead flow consistency later. That's like a first world freelancer problem, not like a danger zone survival problem. So I think this is all awesome. I'm very encouraged by this. What do you have down as your hierarchy of priorities or values or whatever?
Well, yeah. So I really struggle with this. Kind of sat on it all week, and then last night I really tried to get something down. And the number one thing that I came up with, which is exactly what you just said, I thought through, and I was like, at this stage, actually, I'm playing a lot of defense because I'm scared. I'm playing from fear, and I'm afraid of like losing the great client that I have and the potential other great client and the other potential great client. So instead, I'm thinking about things, and I'm like not putting my energy into just doing a good job for them. And I think that's what I need to do. So I said number one is basically fill up the work for the client that I have. Like just do the full capacity every week. I've said that for 2 weeks, but this week I had all these podcasts that I had previously. I had a pipeline that was working its way through, and 3 of them hit this week. And I was like, okay, well, I feel like I have to do those. I don't have to, of course, but
yeah, it's like honoring a commitment kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I did do those, and those took up a lot of my time. And so I think that exactly what you just said is my next priority. And I wrote that down, like, that's the thing I want to focus on, is fill up the client that I have. Because again, I'm playing defense. If I were to my therapist said this one time where he was like, what if you just assumed that it'll go well? Like, I spend so much time assuming that things won't go well. And he was like, what if you just assumed that it will go well? And I was like, well, that would be weird and scary, crazy. And what? Why would you assume that thing would go well? But like, all the signs are indicating that things are going great with my current client. The only thing is that I am not finding time to like keep that up. And I was like, if I just dropped everything else and just did that, I mean, obviously that won't be fully true, but if I did that, I think a lot of good things could come from it. Yep. So I do think that maybe it's time for me to kind of set down the outreach thing for a minute, even though my work for him is doing outreach for another thing. So I'm still getting better at the skill. I said I should focus on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, let's hear it. Go ahead.
I said what I should focus on: getting new clients and or making as much money as possible. But I really struggled because I was like, yeah, what I should do. And then I kind of came back and had this positive association because I have this outline. Well, I'll show you. So I remembered that Delia interview thing you said, which is outreach should be fun. Because I'm like, I'm doing outreach for myself. I'm doing outreach for my client. And I thought, what if I were to make outreach fun? And then I got excited. And then I was like, wait a second. Business should be fun. Like, if I'm not surviving anymore, which I feel like I'm kind of coming out of survival mode, like, I love business. I love this stuff. Like, and how do I make it fun for me? So I kind of took that path of like, what would make this whole thing fun for me? And I thought improving something every day is super fun to me. And I remember when I was learning coding last year, every day I would be like, all right, I got a bunch of systems. They're running at the capacity they are. How do I improve them? And that was so fun to me. Every day I'd be like, how do I open up this bottleneck? How do I increase this? And I would be like, I would spend all day trying to solve one problem. But once I did, it would be like this huge explosion of productivity on the other side. And I love that. So I was like, why don't I do that for this? And then I got really excited. So I thought, like, as a values type thing that I also think is very practical, is just trying to improve something every day. Like, and I have been doing that, but it's kind of like not super intentional. And learn something every day, but keep it focused on the things that are relevant to producing more output. Like, I can learn about Upwork, like I can learn about freelancing. I can learn about outreach. I can learn about,
like design and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of a mix of my sort of like wishy-washy goals, but also practical. So that's where I got. I don't feel like that's exactly what you had with your business, but these things at least got me excited and made me put things down on paper. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, the main thing that I was wanting to get you to is a way to make decisions. So if you have 3 hours available, but you have 6 hours of things you need to do, and you only have 3 hours available, and you have to decide on which one to pursue. That was kind of the angle I was getting at, is like, how would you decide? So, and you've kind of spoken to that today, and it sounds like maybe your top priority is doing the most kick-ass job you can for your current clients. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And then maybe your next priority is nurturing the leads in your pipeline. And then maybe your lowest priority is getting new leads into the pipeline. And maybe that's like the V1.
Yeah.
And then you
Writing
would
it
want to
down.
slot in like your podcast interviews. That goes somewhere in that hierarchy. The the main thing that I think would be a smart habit to build is that for as long as your marketing strategy is primarily reliant on outreach, I think it's good to just stay in the habit of it. So even on a week where you could fill all of your work hours with that top number one priority, I think it'd still maybe be smart to like, and this is theoretical. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But it might be smart to still allocate like even 1 hour to an outreachy kind of thing, just so that when you get back into the phase where you need to do it, it's not scary. Because the longer you go without doing it, the scarier it gets to do it again. So that's just a random thought, but take it or leave it up to you. So well, before I dig deep into what I think would be interesting to uncover, I just want to check with you. Like, what do you want to leave today's session with? What are you hoping to take away today?
I think today's session, I would like to take away I feel like a lot of our systems are up and running, and I want to have like a goal for September, or not necessarily like I don't know. I guess I don't know what goal would be best, but just like a theme to it, I guess. Like, I feel like I'm just pulling out of that, like my head's a little bit above water. I'm kind of getting out of that survival thing, and I really want to know what the big like next revolution should be in September, because I can see August as a complete thing now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's a good challenge. We'll see how we can get there. Then for me to like help you with this, I have to have a good picture of the present. So if I were doing my goal setting in your shoes, I would try to determine the following things. Number one, what is my effective hourly rate? Number two, what is my hourly rate? So effective hourly rate would be like, and I don't think effective hourly rates may be even that relevant for you right now, because everything you're doing, you're billing up by the hour anyway, right?
Except for my Trojan horse client that I just did a one-time
That's
fee.
per project?
Yeah.
Okay, then you'd want to calculate the effective hourly rate of that. But probably I would first look at what is my hourly rate? What are my lead sources? Where do I think I'm weakest? What do I think is going to move me most towards my goals? So if we look at like the flow of the blueprint, I've been reworking it into kind of a simplified flow. So the flow of the blueprint is essentially like stage 1, hypothesize, stage 2, validate, stage 3, formalize, stage 4, promote, stage 5, nurture and scale. So if you look at where you're at kind of on that trajectory right now, like you are kind of in the validate stage. You're building some relationships. You are testing your service offering out on different clients. You have some theories about what would be a cool packaged up service offering that you're testing. So like you're still in this validate testing stage. And so if I were to say, okay, Brad, if we wanted to take you right now from $24.45 a month to $10K a month, let's just say. So you need to 4x your income. What do you think the biggest, as you say, the bottlenecks, solving bottlenecks. What do you think the biggest bottlenecks are for you to get there? Is it having the exact same amount of volume that's 4 times as valuable? Is it 4xing your volume and finding a way to streamline fulfillment? Is it raising your rates and volume? Like, what do you think the big bottlenecks are? Let's not, this puts too much pressure on you. So let's say I wanted you to, well, yeah, I guess let's just say double the income. What do you think the big bottleneck would be for you to double your income?
I think getting rid of other things from my daily like required commitments so that I can get myself to do the full client work for all my existing clients. Like, I think having those podcasts like intermittently throughout the day it's like, damn, I really need to work for 3 hours for my client today, but I only have 2 hours before my podcast starts, and that's going to take like an hour and a half. And then, afterwards my brain's all going to be all mushy and I'll have to like go for a walk or something. So it just disrupts. So that's what I was thinking is like my bottleneck is all these other things that are like on my calendar.
Yeah.
I need to clear my calendar. except for fulfilling client work. And then I can squeeze all these other little improvement type things as, ad hoc, not on the calendar, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
When do you think, and my perception anyway, is that your secret sauce with your service offering is not your ability to edit videos in Premiere. It's the marketing strategy stuff. And I'm playing with a video agency for my agency from scratch project. To me, the reason I decided to play with video, and it's still hypothetical, but the reason I am playing with a video agency rather than a web dev thing is that video is just like a lot easier to delegate. For me, I've always struggled to delegate web development because you kind of don't know if it was done well unless you pour over all the code. Whereas a video, like you tell the editor your strategy, they edit the thing, you watch the end video, and you're like, fine, cool. I see everything that there is to see. So to me, knowing what I do about you, like I would think your secret sauce, you Brad, the secret sauce is this live interview process, the marketing mind, the marketing knowledge, the strategic outlook about what to even have as a short, that sort of thing. It's not your ability to make cuts in Premiere. So when do you see yourself getting to the stage where you are not, because the reason I'm getting at all this is that if the optimization you make is opening up as many hours in the day for client project fulfillment as possible, I think that that's maybe a fine goal for now if you want to get to the next income milestone like ASAP, because you keep more of your dollars. But it's also the thing that gets most freelancers stuck because it's just the owning the job stage. You have to know how to perform the job before you can delegate the job, obviously. I don't think there's anything wrong with like laying the groundwork the first time, but I'm just curious, in your mind, when do you think the stage would be that you'd be looking to have a video editor helping you edit the videos?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I was pretty convinced that I wouldn't ever have anybody. And then I kind of became open to having like Andy Strout said, like a virtual agency where it's not like people work for me, but I have a Rolodex of freelancers that I work with whenever. I want to be open to it. I mean, there's part of me that's like, I want to see what I can do just by myself, which would force me to get better at like software scaling and stuff like that. But yeah, that's been a big roadblock for me in business. My whole career is not wanting to outsource anything.
That makes sense. I mean, the way I look at it is this. Video, it seems like, takes about 4x or so its length, its produced length to produce. And that's not counting like any interviewing or recording time, just editing, especially if you're fucking with shorts and captions and all these things. And so the trouble, suppose you want to get your effective hourly rate to say $250 an hour or $500 an hour or $1,000 an hour. You pretty much can't, you're going as a video editor, your hourly rate is going to be severely capped by the amount of time it takes to do the aspect that is commoditized, which is the actual cuts. But imagine this. Imagine if all you did as Brad was that strategic bit. And so your time was saying, okay, we're going to make this into a short, this into a short, this into the full length. And then you pass that off to somebody who's charging you a flat rate. So suppose that you knew you could pay a video editor who you delegated work to, say $30 flat rate for every single short that they send you, and $80 flat rate for every like 5 to 10 minute YouTube video or whatever your flat rate things are. And then you have a package for a client where you are sitting down with them for a 2-hour block. You are interviewing them, and their takeaway from that is going to be 5 full-length videos and 10 shorts. I don't remember the numbers I just said. I think it was 80 for the full length. So if it was 5 times 8, that's a 400, right? 8 times 5, $400 outlay. 10 shorts, did I say that was 30? So that'd be 300. So that, your financial outlay is $700 in this hypothetical because you're paying a flat per project rate to your people you're outsourcing to. And you charge $1,500. and your time on the phone with them is 2 hours and your time reviewing the work is an hour and a half, then suddenly your effective hourly rate is $250 an hour. And I'm assuming, I don't know what work you enjoy the most, but at least for me, I really don't like the actual video editing. I don't know how the hell you do it. I would think everyone with ADHD must hate video editing. I don't know why you like it. But in any case, assuming you actually like the strategic part more, then that makes sense. If you like the video editing part more, probably the route would look different, and you'd want to optimize for your secret sauce not being the producing of the videos, but maybe the editing of the assets initially. But you'd have to like really level up your design skills to get to that point. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like what's the part you enjoy the most of the process? What do you think your secret sauce is?
Yeah, definitely the strategy and the actual interviews. I really enjoy talking to people.
Yeah, this is what I would have expected for you. Yeah. So to me, that's the value. And if we're talking about goals for September, and it's easy for me to say this stuff because I'm doing a similar thing to you. So these are like kind of my own goals with the agency. Like I'm taking a weird route with my little agency project since I'm only doing it for the sake of the blueprint. But my big next step in this little agency, like my current step, I mean, I'm doing my Trojan Horse podcast stuff, and I'm using the episodes that I'm recording for my podcast to kind of hone my processes. Like I created some cool templates that we're chopping shorts up, and for everyone who comes on the podcast, I chop some shorts up and send them to them for them to use on their own social media. And doing this helps me get an understanding of like what goes into producing the stuff. I have one past client who I'm going to just make some shorts for from her podcast just for fun, but she would also be a very good video client, things like that. To me, my big number one goal, and I think it's a helpful constraint that I'm running DYF and doing some consulting work, that I just don't have time to fulfill. Like any agency I start with my little side project agency, I cannot personally fulfill the projects. I just will fucking kill myself if I have to keep working this much. So I need to get the fulfillment such that it is streamlined enough that someone else can do it. So my role here needs to be laying the groundwork, creating the service offering, creating the processes, but not editing the goddamn videos. So my goal is essentially, like, my current phase is find out what people care about, find out what people think is valuable in this video space. So essentially like honing the service offering, the productized thing, like where it's like, I say, you pay me $2,000 a month and you get blank. Find out what exactly blank has to be, and then find a way to like fulfill it pretty consistently with like minimal oversight for me. And I'm planning to take, I think you and I are kind of taking similar approaches. Like for me, I really like the idea of sitting down an interview, spitballing some stuff together, fleshing out what is good content for them, recording the content there, and then just giving it all back to them. Probably, if I can find a way to do it, it'd be nice if we literally posted it on their social media for them so they don't have to fuck with anything. So for me, my number one priority in my agency is building relationships with my potential client to find out what they care about. That's number one. And then number two is determining what the service offering would be. And then number three is charting the course for predictable fulfillment. Once those three things are done, all you do is like increase leads. So to me, I think that those like three priorities would be really relevant for you too. If you want as much money ASAP as possible, then fine. I think the priority would just be get as much $50 an hour work as you can going. But to me, you don't want to be locked into $50 an hour work or even $100 an hour work indefinitely, because it will become a bottleneck and you'll get bored. You and I have similar ADHD, and I can just tell you, you will get bored because I have gotten bored with this kind of work. And if you can be working on the business and you can be creating the systems and stuff, it'll be fun because it'll always be novel. But if you are doing the fulfillment, at least for me, we are different people, but for me, once I have like subconsciously figured out the SOP, I get bored. So once I've created all the templates, I've created all the SOPs, created all the workflows, and now I have to actually just go through and check the boxes and do it step by step. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. But that's fine, because if you're growing a scalable business, like, you shouldn't be doing that. By the time you have it at the stage where that can be done, usually it makes sense for someone else to do it. So assuming this all sounds good to you, I would kind of like encourage you to look at your fulfillment work that you're doing now through the lens of being in service to this broader goal of solidifying a service offering, figuring out what goes into fulfilling it, figuring out what the SOP is. But then the next step should probably be to get yourself out of fulfillment and into strategy. Because that's the ultimate like commodity to consultant thing, is shifting from fulfillment to strategy. And I think that this, in your industry specifically, is extremely the case. That's poorly worded, but yeah, I think video, what I've always found so interesting about video is it's like when I compare video to writing, for example, video is one where it's like the actual fulfillment is so commoditized, but also takes so much time. And so that's the barrier to video. The barrier to people creating videos is not the time it takes to record the video, which is actually quite small. It's the time it takes to produce the video. Whereas like with writing, the time it takes to write the stuff, it's hard. I don't know how I can't articulate what I'm saying, but maybe you know what I'm getting at.
Yep.
So what do you think about all this? What's resonating? What's not? What do you think makes sense for your September, et cetera?
It's all resonating actually. Again, I feel very fortunate that you just happen to randomly be like doing what I'm doing right now. So I get to sort of draft off of because you have a lot more resources and connections and experience and all that stuff. So I can, like, I'm struggling to figure that stuff out because I've never done it before. You know, you've done it before. Like, I've never hired out anything for myself. Like, I've never built a service offering that people pay me thousands of dollars for. Like, no, I mean, you know, that's what this is all about for me. So it's cool that you just happen to be also doing it, so I can learn a lot from you. But yeah, I think I got to keep working on my openness to working with other people, and outsourcing. But you're right. That will be the next bottleneck. I don't think it's September, but I think September, if I really focus on the fulfillment aspect of what I have now, then it will probably be a good like springboard into that phase. Like September, I think I should, yeah. And I like reframing all of that is like, that's where I always find value, is like, how is this serving my bigger goals? Like, I'm not doing this so that I'm going to be checking these boxes for the next 6 months. I'm doing it so that I can learn which boxes need to be checked and in which order. Yeah. And then once it's done, I learn how to hire people and I learn how to get to that phase of business. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want you to prematurely delegate. I don't think it's relevant for now. I agree it won't be relevant for September, maybe not even October. Like, it takes a lot of time to get to this stage, especially when it's your first time. I've never considered myself a good delegator until more recently, and I've been running an agency and consultancy for a lot of years. So it definitely takes practice, and I think it will take you time to get there. But I'm glad you're open to keeping this approach to it, because what I'm really appreciating, like running my new podcast, running DYF, and not the other consultancy, so really just those two, and then doing some video for clients, like it's too much. It's too much to do. And so when I'm projecting you forward, and I'm imagining, okay, so let's say Brad is he's doing a Santa Claus every week. He's doing a Santa Claus outreach. He's releasing a weekly podcast episode. He's releasing some top of funnel content, authority building for his own brand. He's probably doing some guesting, and he's fulfilling client work, but not even fulfilling client work. Imagine you just did those things I just listed. Like, that alone is probably 20 to 30 hours of video editing time to simply produce that. Mm-hmm. And that is not any fucking client work. That's like just marketing content. So when I project forward and I'm imagining you doing this, that's why I push you in this direction. And that's why I'm even exploring this agency, is because, like, I think I told you, I'm not airing these podcasts yet because we just don't have the editing bandwidth. I am shooting every week probably 4-ish hours of stuff that I don't have the resources on staff yet to edit. And I'm playing with these shorts for podcast guests within the Full-Time Creator podcast, but I'm not doing shorts for DYF yet. We don't have the capacity to do that. I'm not posting my own YouTube videos. So when I'm picturing like all of the structures I have to have in place, it's just, you need good systems, you need a good team, you need good processes, and that's just like for bare minimum. So the reason I think it makes more sense for you as a video person to be thinking about the systems and the delegation more so than like, say, a web developer, is that in order for you to get to a good baseline, you have to find a way to get the work off your plate, because it's just so much of it. So I think if you can look, like, I think that this cold outreach work you're doing for your client is really cool, even though it's most likely not going to be your finalized service offering, although it could be. I was thinking the other day about you and how, given that you're doing cold outreach to affiliates, if you wanted to, you could probably negotiate a performance-based or performance incentivized thing where you are paid a percentage of the commissions that any of the affiliates you generate.
Yeah.
And that could be your thing. But yeah, I guess to me, like, I would say ultimate goal for September and maybe October is just continue to build relationships in a way that doesn't kill your schedule. So I don't think you should cut off all the Trojan horse stuff, but, you know, maybe aim for a podcast a week or every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Building relationships and good fulfillment with your clients, and then trying to dial in on the service offering and starting to experiment with it. It sounds like you're already doing this. So for this client who came from your podcast, it sounds like you're playing with your theoretical service offering there. And I wish you could listen to these Maya episodes, because I feel like Maya is just a few steps further down a similar road that you're on. And so Maya is like, imagine where you'll be in 3 months or 6 months or 4 or something. I don't know how many months, but Maya is a few months further. And so in the time that I've been doing these with her, she has been also validating and solidifying a service offering, but you're kind of getting there now-ish or a few weeks ago, and she was there earlier. And it's been interesting seeing how much hers is like kind of changing, but then with each passing week, the variation is smaller and smaller as it solidifies. And I think that's where we'll get with you as well. But the only way you get there is by, you know, step 1, sell it. Step 2, fulfill it. Step 3, reflect on it. And you just kind of keep doing this. And every time it gets a little bit better. So you're doing the work already. And that's great.
Yeah, it does feel like things are starting to, like, the biggest thing I've gotten from being in your community and talking to you and stuff is just you've helped make things that seem completely like messy and amorphous, like, but you've given them a name, you've put them in a place, like, you know, all these things, like, I don't know, how the hell do you get clients? How do you get leads? Like, it's starting to make sense. I'm like, okay, I think I actually know how you get leads now. And it was such a mystery to me. And all these things, like, you call them, you know, I think of them as like, I was talking to my client for 6 hours, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that was building a relationship. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is building a relationship. It's like, you like take this messy thing that seems like it doesn't have any order. Yeah, you're ordering things that seem unordered in my mind, because you're familiar with all of this. It's very useful.
I'm glad it is validating to hear, because that's something that I really enjoy doing, and I also think that I'm good at. It's like the thing about working at DYF, like as a business, that I like the most is thinking about this exact thing. Like, how can I make this really confusing spaghetti looking process have these nice little step-by-step buckets? I love that.
Yeah.
And then people get stuck, and I'm like, oh, that needed to be a different step-by-step bucket. Next try.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to be doing with your service offering too. Right now, you're just kind of throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall with different types of video and different types of way to help people. But the more you do it, the more you'll learn what's moving the needle. The more you'll learn what people care about. You'll learn things too, like the things that you know are the most important, but that people don't give a shit about. And thus, by offering them, you are not delivering something that is perceived as valuable, valuable, even if it is like objectively valuable through your lens. And that's an important part of packaging and pricing and stuff too. So let me go back to the notes from today. I want to make sure we touch on everything. So I guess when we're thinking about your time and we're thinking about your stage, if I were to summarize everything we're talking about into one thing, I would say the top priority always is doing the best possible work that you can. And I think that's so relevant for where you're at. I think that if you're overwhelmed at the idea of fucking up on a client project and that causes you to not invest as much time as you can into making it great, and then you do poorly because you didn't do that, that would be a great shame. So even if you screw off on every homework assignment we ever do, but you screwed off on it because you were doing everything you could to do the best possible work without caring about your hourly rates, without caring about your effective hourly rate, all you care about is I'm going to do the best possible work I can, then that's cool. It will be something to improve, like as you go forward, but it'll never be bad. So that's top priority. And then I would say second priority is just be solidifying that service offering. I think that these two things, every task you do in a given week, you should probably hold it up against these things and say, is this in service to it or is it not? And if it's not, no worries, but maybe I should be careful. And then of course, like the third tier is still survival. You know, you're not riding the gravy train yet. So you got to make sure there are leads coming in. You got to make sure you're getting paid, that kind of thing. And I think that if September we're dedicated just to doing a great job, getting better at doing a great job, and then figuring out the service offering, finding the SOPs, or not even the SOPs yet, but just like the commonalities, I think that would be a really great September. And just keep doing your relationship building. Like I would still want to see you doing an interview week, but ideally be doing it with somebody who's your target client.
Well, that's a perfect summary. I know we're out of time. I was hoping we could talk about the niche thing if you have a few more minutes.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
honestly,
I was in
my mind planning on 6:30 anyway, so I thought we had 12 more minutes. But no, we are out of time. So thank you. But we can still go 12 more minutes.
Okay. Yeah, those 3 priorities were perfect. And again, you've ordered something that was messy and unordered in my mind. So you are really, really good at that. So thank you.
Wow. So maybe the listeners should join the community to get me to do this for them.
If it feels confusing and messy and you want it to suddenly make sense, talk to Zach.
So let's talk about the niche thing. What were you going to ask?
So it's been iterating. I was at creators, consultants, and coaches. And I thought about it a lot this week. And I was like, I've been a coach. I've done coaching. I worked in the coaching industry, ran a big coaching company. I don't really like working with coaches that much, turns out.
How come?
So I kind of cut them. And then I was like, I've never really been like a businessy type person. And I feel like people who build themselves as consultants, I don't really jive with them because they're usually more like, obviously this is a generalization and not true, but generally I feel like they're more like salesy, slicked hair kind of stuff. That's kind of the vibe, and that's not really great either. And then I thought about course creators, and I was like, okay, I know when I first started going through the blueprint, that's like Brennan's niche or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And then I expanded it, and I was like, whoa, you're just taking the first thing. But now I'm coming back, and I'm like, wait a second, they have an immediate product to sell. So like any amount of increased leads or traffic will make them more money because they have a widget, which is their course. They are interested in the reason I thought of coaches is because coaches love to put themselves out there because their product is them. So they like video because it's like my face and my advice and my thoughts on things. Well, course creators might not be as motivated by that, but they're pretty close. So I thought video is a good fit for them. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are selling courses. This is a gem of business that I've uncovered from my client work. It's very easy to get to connect with YouTubers. Every YouTube channel has an email, a business email, and you can just outreach to them. And so far, that's been the highest return on my time doing cold outreach for my client is YouTubers. So they're not inundated with outreach emails, like, because it's a little harder to scrape. Anyways, So also personally, I have taken hundreds, maybe thousands of courses over my lifetime. I am passionate about like learning and gaining skills. So it's like, it's got a deeper thing to it. And one of my existing clients right now, the Trojan Horse client, that's the next service that he wants help with. And I'm already doing it with another of my Upwork clients where I'm helping him take all the stuff, kind of like you do with these processes and stuff. Like I'm really, really good at taking somebody's messy ideas and expertise and passions and ordering them into a course, because I've taken thousands of courses. I've read thousands of self-help books, and my mentor at that big dating company I ran, he was like the best I've ever seen at taking somebody. He'd sit down with somebody and he'd be like, so how do you, I remember this one time he was talking to the founder of Member Mouse, and the guy's like a really big music producer. And my boss was like, so how do you make these, or he was a composer. He was like, so how do you compose songs? And the guy's like, I don't know, I just do it. And he's like, well, like, how do you start? And he took out this whiteboard, and the guy's like, well, I guess I think about the theme first. And he's like, okay, theme. And then and I saw him do this multiple times with people, and I loved it. I was like, wow, you're just like, right now I'm calling it genius extraction, but that's kind of a weird word, but I'm really, really, really good at it. I saw him do it many times and make tens of millions of dollars for himself, for the people that he did it with. And then I've done it for myself. I have a course. I love courses. Anyways, I want to go for course creators, and everybody says you got to get more and more and more and more specific, even though it feels annoying to me.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be more specific than that.
I love all the software. Like they all gather around the software. Like that's where they hang out, is around their Kajabi, ClickFunnels, Builderall, Teachable, LearnDash. And I love all those softwares. Like, again, I've built courses. I like Udemy. I've used Skillshare. Like, I don't know. That's the niche I want to go for. I don't know how to bridge the gap, but I know somebody. The gap of like, how do I bridge what I'm currently offering to that group of people?
So many ways, like 50 ways just out of my ass off the top of my head. I mean, like you can do the viral shorts. You can do editing for course videos. You could audit their courses to make sure their curriculum doesn't suck. You could audit their courses to make sure people don't get stuck. You could help newbies create their first course. Like you could set up the curriculum, you could interview them, you could turn it into a course. Like there are a fucking million. To me, I'm like, I'm surprised you're even just arriving at that. I was like, I thought you already, yeah. I mean, like obviously, when you say your niche is course creators, I'm like, yeah, obviously it is. Obvious. I know you, Brad, so of course it is. Like what the fuck else would it even be? So yeah, sounds good, dude. And I'm sure that we will bridge this gap. I think that genius extraction as a label is great. And I think it's so valuable for course creators. And from my little test agency, I'm not pigeoning it into course creators, but it pretty much is. I just said creators in general in case it turns out to not be the case. But I have this theory that the way you choose a niche is you pick something you're either, like ideally, pick something you're either in, want to be in, or have been in that is professional, like B2B. For you, it ticks so many boxes. It ticks the box of having a need for a service you can provide, aka video. It ticks the box of being something you want to be doing. It ticks the box of being something you've done before. It ticks the box of being someone you like to talk to. Like it's such a good niche. So yeah, sounds great. And given that you said the YouTubers are easy to outreach to, I would think that a really nice, once you're ready to do more Santa Clausing and whatnot, and once you've worked with some more clients and have ideas for how you want to help, a really great place to start would probably be doing your own cold outreach to YouTubers, just like you're doing for your client, with the Santa Clausy thing, where you, like, I think one of my favorite things that Nicholas Cole said on that interview was the whole, you find someone who's failing in public.
Yeah.
So, you know, just that, like you go to a YouTuber's place who's like doing pretty well, but they could be doing a bit better, and you help them do it better. Or you take somebody's course where you get stuck and you have some ideas for things they could have done better, or you have ideas for how their videos could have been produced better to help people, or whatever. I bet you'll find, I think in your case, it's not going to be a challenge of thinking of ideas. I think it's going to be a challenge of committing to one and not not entertaining too many, because that's going to be what happens. There's so many things you could do, but that for you to get good traction, you kind of have to have one thing that is your thing at first until you have like a big team, because otherwise it just like dilutes your messaging. But the thing that's nice about Course Creators is it's like, now that you have some episodes out, have you released your episodes for your podcast already?
I've released I'm about to release 3.
And they're all on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all this stuff. Okay, cool. So you are at the point now, and you'll soon be further along this point, like where you're not just a nobody. You're pretty much a nobody, but you're not. And in your case, you're not a nobody because you've got your big YouTube following. I don't have that. So for me, I'm legit a nobody with me starting this podcast because I'm not leveraging any of my DYF reputation or anything. So for me, I'm just like some fucking random guy. For you, you've got the Nomad Brad. You've got social media. I have none of that because I'm not. You know how social media-y I am. But yeah, what I was getting at is that as you continue to go down this route, it'll be really easy for you to do one of two things. So another thing I'm working on for the blueprint, which isn't in there right now, is that I'm kind of simplifying the outreach partnership building stage to say that you can essentially build relationships with one of 3 types of people: your end client, an influencer of your end client, or an agency who serves your end client. Those are kind of like the 3 that we would work with. And what gets me excited about your situation and mine, since I'm doing the same thing, is like, if you imagine influencers, once you have authority yourself, think of all the people out there who teach students how to create their first course. Think of all the people who have courses about how to create your first course. And imagine if you had a strategic partnership where instead of this person's customers just taking their course about how to create a course, they had an upsell that was like a $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever done for you service, where you pay them a big, fat, juicy $2,000 affiliate commission, and they just send you leads like all day, and everyone is so happy. The influencer's happy because they get easy money that they don't have to fulfill. The end client is happy because they get their course created without having to do it. You're happy because you get easy, free leads. And there's so many opportunities for that. Yeah. So I think it's just about finding what it is that you want to do, what's the closest to the money. Because of course, one of the foundational tenets Brendan talks about that I think I always try to force myself to remember, and that I think it'll be maybe important for you to do as well. Brennan in the blueprint talks about the idea of magnify, not create, multiply, not create. And if you're serving people who need to create their very first course, who are like struggling to do it, you're not multiplying, you're creating. And the money is in the multiplication. So I don't actually think your service offering should be like helping people make their first course, but it could be doing all of the video recording and production for a course, like whatever it is, who knows? But you get what I'm getting at. I think that there's a world of opportunities here. So when you're thinking about your upcoming Trojan horse, maybe think about how you can get course creators on, or influencers of course creators as your future interviewees.
Absolutely. I love that. And actually, I've already done a couple. My last two of my last 3 guests are influencers who have courses and also teach people like how to create their own courses.
Perfect.
Man, that's so awesome. I'm super excited. I listened to the Nicholas Cole interview twice, and I started reading his book because of how valuable the interview was. I thought you asked really good questions. And he said for ghostwriting, he said this amazing thing that I wrote down, which is like, there's all these like really successful, really knowledgeable people out there who, and he said, you have valuable information to share, but you don't have time to share it. And I wrote that down and circled it. It's like, that's my value prop for a certain type of customer. And I think honestly, that type of customer, I could charge $100,000 for, or 50, or like 20, like big time. Like, hey, you don't even have time. You don't know how to do this, but you know you need to get your message out to the world, the thought leader type people, but you don't have any idea how to do it. And this goes back to like a couple months ago when I was reading $100 million offers, and I was like, I think I want to do like thought leadership on demand or something. Like, the full package. Like that's what would be worth 20, 50, 100,000, whatever, is like, you just sit down with me and I do stuff. And my friend / client, Trojan horse guy, Horsey, we'll call him. No. He called it, he's a musician. So, and he wants to make he's got these course ideas he's had in his head for years. And he's like, you can help me do that. And I was like, cool. But he called me like a course production or a producer, like a music producer. Like they sit with you in the studio, they tweak the knobs, like they take care of everything except for you talking. And so you don't have to think about all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, it compared with the Nicholas Cole ghostwriting thing, is like, that's how you speak to really high income individuals who they don't have time to do this shit, but they can sit down for 2 hours, maybe, if it's going to be their book and their course that they're going to sell for 10 years.
But the one asterisk I would add here, though, is that if your audience is going to be course creators, you would not run into the ineptitude. Like if somebody is a course creator, they already know how to do content marketing and they already know how to create courses. So that's kind of the difference.
I have no idea how to speak to thought leader people yet, but I see that as like down the road, it could evolve into that if I wanted it to.
Yeah.
I'm certain
I would,
that's not,
I would think
I'm
it
fully
would be
on
a
board
fork.
with. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, either prong of the fork would work. It's just kind of about whichever one you want to commit to as you decide to do it or play with, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
Not the C word. Commit being the C word for clarity. Just to clarity. Yeah.
All right.
Any other things before we go?
Full. Well, I guess just real quick, like what would be maybe the first step I could take in the direction of, because that still feels messy, of like, cool, I've picked a niche, but like, what do I do in the next couple days, next couple weeks with that?
I would say you kind of have to decide hypothetically, experimentally, if you think you want to help, like what phase of the funnel you want as your first hypothetical service offering. If you want it top of funnel, like YouTube Shorts or other short form or YouTube, or if you want it kind of like bottom of the funnel, like editing course content, because the way that you're going to go about it is different. I think from what I've seen you doing, seems like top of funnel is probably the easiest first route. What are your current clients having you do?
Well, both of the people that are having me help them create courses, it's that first stage. It's the genius extraction. It's like, I sit down with you and then 2 hours later we have an outline of a course.
And this is for a course?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not helping with top of funnel right now. You're helping with course content.
Yeah. That's the bridge I don't understand, is like, how do I connect? Because I also decided that I'm going to be a short form content agency. And now I'm like, well, what I'm actually doing for them right now is not that. It's the genius extraction.
So the people you're doing genius extraction for, this will be their first course. Is that right?
More or less. Yeah. I mean, they've both made courses, but it's not like their pillar, it's like, I put out this thing and some people sign up, but.
Okay. Well, to me, like if you want, given that this is where you I usually like to go where it seems like it'll be easiest, and usually ease as a freelancer means existing or past projects. So in your case, seems like the easiest routes. And if you think about your connections, so you have that WordPress dude, you've got this dude you're doing affiliate outreach for, you've got this friend. Like I remember when we very first started chatting, you mentioned like your two connections that were your potentially really advantageous connections, right? You remember the ones? So what are the work opportunities for? Is one of those this dude who's your friend who you're doing the project for, who came from your podcast, or what?
No, that's a new guy.
So imagine that what you do is genius extraction that results in a course. Would that be relevant to those big, juicy existing connections that you could tap, or would it not be relevant for them?
Probably not for them. They've both sort of done all that. I think for them, the short form content creation, top of funnel stuff would be way more relevant, is more relevant.
Yeah, I mean, from the multiply not create standpoint, top of funnel is better because like I think about my client who I do a lot of ongoing work for, the one who I'm going to do some short form for. She has one course. It sells 7 figures a year with a couple launches a year. She's had the same course for like 5 years. She updates it, but she only has one. And it's like a really in-depth course. So for her, doing stuff that drives more leads would be more valuable than creating more course content because she doesn't need more course content. So I guess your first step is like you either, number one, decide, okay, I'm going to lean into this whole creating the course thing. I'm going to pioneer a service offering with these current clients that I have, the genius extraction into a course. And then maybe I will make some connections with influencers who teach people how to create their first course so that they can promote my course creator genius extraction service. But you would need to charge more than $500 because that's quite undercharging. Or you decide you want to double down on the top of funnel short form, in which case your goal needs to be creating a hypothetical service offering and then trying to get some work for it so you can like put it into practice. And this work, fortunately, is very, very good fit for the whole like Santa Claus value forward cold outreach kind of thing. So I think to me, that's the number one goal. And it's where I'm at with my little test project is I'm trying to figure out what it is that I might offer as a service. And I'm using my Trojan Horse podcast as a way to experiment. I'm using my past client who hires me for web development and launch management as a way to experiment. I can use DYF. Like I'm just experimenting because I have people to experiment on. If I didn't have that, I would try to like do pro bono work or find people to experiment on, whatever. So yeah, like you've got these two fork prongs here. Which one? I mean, it seems like I could see arguments both ways, but it seems like probably if you imagine doing this for an 8-figure client, probably being able to own top of funnel, being able to own viral metric, or not even viral metrics, but just straight up organic metrics, like saying, hey, I know on average that I drive like 10 leads per month per short-term video, per short form video for clients in this particular kind of like, what was cool about that Nicholas Cole interview is like, he's done his thing enough times. He was talking about like, you do it enough times that you have your guesses about metrics and stuff. And so to me, that's like kind of the biggest milestone you could get to is doing the thing you want to do enough times that you know what to expect. And so I think the first step to that is just kind of decide what the thing is you want to do. And if it's not this course creator thing, I'd say, given that genius extraction is like what you'd say your secret sauce is, and I agree, ask yourself if you were doing top of funnel, how could you use genius extraction there? I mean, like you could just steal my idea for, okay, cool. So there you go.
With the SEO questions, that was my first service offering is like, how do I take 2 hours of sitting down with me and turn it into top of funnel? So actually,
yeah, you already got it.
That's kind of where I started.
Yeah. And then I think I stole my service offering from you. So steal it, my stolen one from you back from me, and then just find some people to do it for. And you can do that pro bono. You could do it like cost deferred. You could do whatever. So I'd say fulfill your current projects because it's money in your pocket, it's clients on the books, and maybe it is a secondary service offering that you offer. But probably for this week, yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of work on your plate and stuff. So it's maybe not a good week goal, but like maybe for the 1 to 2 week zone, but certainly the 1 week zone is maybe this week you have it down as a goal, decide what you want to have your first hypothetical service offering be that you want to try to validate. Do you want that to be your top of funnel genius extraction or course creation genius extraction? Just because you have 2 course creation genius extraction projects doesn't mean you have to pick it. So if you decide top of funnel, you still fulfill those projects. You fulfill them knowing that they're kind of a little bit outside of what you're targeting. And that's fine. Not every project you book when you're needing revenue is going to be your exact dream project, especially when you don't own your lead flow yet. Does one of them resonate more right now? Is it the top of funnel that resonates?
Yeah, it's top of funnel. And that's currently what I have on like my Twitter bio and stuff. I don't know how to say it, but like, I help course creators get more customers with, I said short form content and then I said YouTube, but.
Okay, then I would say this. Your homework assignment is to make hypothetical service offering. I want you to make a bullet point sales page. Like, I don't want you to make a real sales page, just open up Notion or whatever. And I want you to say, here is my top of funnel genius extraction service. And you don't even have to think of a good name for it yet. Just call it that. And you say, every month you pay me X dollars and you spend X hours with me. In return, you get however many videos, however many shorts, whatever. And this is your hypothetical service offering. So your homework assignment for the week is to make that. I think you should time box it to like an hour and a half. I don't think you should spend too much time on this. Like, ideally, you do this in an hour or less. And then homework assignment number 2 is think about your current leads, think about your current relationships, decide which one you like best, or not even decide which one you like best, but like look at your current relationships and decide who you think would benefit from this and like what you would need to just do it, and then just do it for them. And be thinking about like who's the one who'd be most likely to become a paying client and just do it pro bono for them. And you don't have to do it pro bono this week, but like that's what I did with my Afford Anything client. I was just thinking about her situation and I was like, she'd benefit from this. And I was like, yo, Paula, can I make you some shorts and put them on your YouTube? And she's like, yeah, obviously, of course. Why would I say no to that? So I'll probably put them on her TikTok and stuff too. So how do you feel about those homeworks?
Yeah, great. That's perfect for where I'm at.
So hypothetical service offering, bullet point version. It says the cost to them in terms of time and money, and then what they get, and that's it. And then number 2, decide who you would want to do it for first, or maybe your top 3 picks in order of awesomeness. I think probably the dude who you're doing the affiliate outreach for would be your best bet. And then your current course clients would be another best bet. And then those 2 connect. Like, frankly, you have so many opportunities. And then most of your podcast guests would be a good bet. Like, you could do it for so many people.
Oh yeah. The podcast guests.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point of the podcast, is building those relationships and finding people you can. I don't know if you've been interviewing potential clients so far, but that is the idea long term, is that you'd have guests who are potential clients.
Right. I can think of at least one who I think she might say yes if I present it the right way.
And that the Hormozy approach is like, you say, normally I would charge blank for this, but I'm going to do it for you for free. And then you do that a few times. Then normally I charge blank for this, but I'm going to do it for 80% off.
Yeah.
And he just has you gradually increment. I like that approach.
Yeah, that's really good. Forces me to figure out what this is.
Yeah.
It's
and
not that hard.
When you're deciding how much it would cost, I would say just like pretend, have you done this yet? You've done the 2 hours and you've turned it into videos, or have you not done it yet?
Yeah.
So how much time did it take you to edit all that? And how much SEO went into it beforehand? Like, just try to get a ballpark of what you think goes into it, multiply it by 1.5x, multiply that by 50, and that can be what your air quotes normal price would be. And if you can sell people at this and your estimates are correct about time, you're in good shape, because you can definitely delegate video production work for less than 50 an hour. Like, you can delegate video production for less than 20 an hour. So as you start to delegate, you can make money at whatever you're about to charge. That'll be small. And then as you up your lead flow, you can raise your rates and your margins and how much you pay your team. So it just gets better and better as you go. But for now, just a hypothetical service offering and who you want to do it for freezies. If you can't find anyone, do it for me, because I'll take your free work. I just won't be a very good potential client.
All right. That sounds good.
All right. So we got you some good homework assignments. So I guess this is a good time to transition away, eh?
Yep.
All right. Well, listener, if you enjoyed this, you know the deal. Leave a good review if you'd be so kind. Helps us create helpful stuff for you. If you're not on this in a place where you can leave a review, then maybe you give it a like and a subscribe. Whatever the thing is you can do in that place. And if you want to join the Accelerator community for some one-on-one coaching, the link for that is dyf.link/DYFA. And if you want to keep in touch /follow Brad, all of his social handles are under the Nomad Brad. So you can find him on Twitter, X, YouTube,
Just started
other
LinkedIn.
places, LinkedIn, etc. So thanks for being here. Brad, have a great weekend. Listener, have a great whatever intervals coming up for you. And see ya.